Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Miss, and today I'm actually going to be looking at previous structure deck patterns, and we'll kind of try to use that information to extrapolate and try to figure when we'll start getting the information we want and need on the Cyber style structure deck, and what can we actually expect from it. So before I start, friendly reminder to like and subscribe because it motivates me a lot to keep making videos like these. You already know the drill, and yeah, let's get right into it. Alright, so for starters, the release date in the OCG would be around May 15th. Well, actually, that's the exact release date, but we never know. People always get their hands on the deck like a few days before for some magical unknown reason, and I think Japan is always like one of the first countries to get it, because I know that like South Korea and some other countries, sometimes they're really unlucky. They get maybe they get like the deck a few days later, but it doesn't matter for us because we're all pretty much just TCG guys, except for the OCG players out there. And what does this mean for us actually, May 15th? Because right now you don't really have any idea of when we're actually going to get this structure deck. Don't worry, I actually did the job for you, so I'm just gonna tell you right now that the Shaddoll structure deck was actually released in early December of 2019 for the OCG, and then mid-February for the TCG of 2020, of course, which means that it actually took 2 months and a half for the deck to actually go from there to us. And then for the Ice Bearer structure deck, it was actually released mid-November of 2020, and then, well, for the OCG, and then for the TCG, it was mid-February, which is literally like right now, actually. It just got released for 2021. So in other words, that was around 3 months, which means that if we're looking at the best case scenario, it will take 2 months and a half for us to get the Cyber style structure deck starting from May 15th, or maybe three and a half months, or even maybe 4 months for the structure deck to come to us, meaning that we can actually definitely expect it realistically to arrive in the TCG in maybe beginning, mid, maybe late August, potentially September if we're really unlucky. I really doubt that they're going to hold it off until October, but hey, it's Konami, we never really know. But this definitely could be really interesting, especially if we actually start getting information on the deck ASAP, so we can actually just start theorizing as soon as we actually have the cards release. And if you're wondering how many foils we usually get for per structure deck, well, again, it heavily varies, so it's not like I could actually tell you the answer right now. For the OCG, I think they already gave their answer, but in the TCG, I think it's pretty much different. So the Mechanized Madness structure deck was pretty unlucky because it only had 2 ultra rares and 3 super rares, whereas if you see something else like the Shaddoll structure deck was absolutely insanity. It had 3 ultra rares and 7 super rares, which is kind of crazy. So it pretty much went from 5 to 10 foils, meaning that again, we might actually have a lot of variance. Maybe we're gonna get 7 foils, which would be the average. From a really pessimistic perspective, I don't think we can get any less than 5, but we might get 5. And from a really optimistic perspective, we might get 10, so I guess that's the only way to see it right now. But let's just not think about that too much for now. Another really important thing is that usually foils depend on new cards, because old cards already exist, so why would they reprint them as foils? It's already possible to get them as foils. So the amount of foils that we get is also an extremely important data for us that will allow us to pretty much tell how many new cards we're getting. So depending on how lucky we are, again, if we get maybe 7 foils, maybe that means 7 new cards. Structure decks have a tendency to release pretty much around 5, 6, 7 new cards. The Kaiba structure deck, I think, was pretty huge. It actually announced a lot of new cards, and even after the first wave of support, there were still like a few other ABC cards after that. So it wasn't just ABC, Union Hanger, Union Scramble, and that's it, that's all. There were also other cards, and they also has like ABC Dragon Buster, A to Z Dragon Buster Cannon, which obviously wasn't good, but you kind of get the point. And I'm actually going to take back this example of the ABC structure deck later on in this video to pretty much compare both. Maybe Cyber style structure deck is going to pretty much be like a repeat of the ABC deck, who knows? As for the reveals, I would like to point out that the initial Ice Bearer reveals were actually like September 11th, and again, if you remember what I said before, the Ice Bearer structure deck was actually released in mid-November of 2020. So in other words, we actually started getting information on the deck 2 months prior to its release, meaning that if in the OCG they're getting the structure deck May 15th, we might actually start having the information on the new cards starting from maybe mid-March, March 15th month, 2 months before, definitely logical. So what does that mean? It means that we only have to wait like maybe 3-4 weeks, and then we're actually going to start seeing what the cards look like, and from there, we're definitely going to be able to deck build off of that, and we're actually going to be able to make a decision whether this is truly a Cyber Dragon structure deck, a Cyber Dark structure deck, or kind of like a mix. And even if it is a mix, what could it actually really be? So I actually saw comments of people saying it could actually be a deck that would combine both archetypes together in order to form kind of like a cohesive strategy. Another actually possibility would be to make it a completely non-cohesive set, but at the same time it would individually support both archetypes. And what I mean by that would be, it wouldn't be a really playable structure deck, like you wouldn't really be able to like take it to events and actually kind of do well, like Monarchs, Endymion, Salamangreat, etc. But it'll just be like support for both decks. So for example, you're gonna have new Cyber Dragon cards, new Cyber Dark cards, but Konami won't actually tell you, oh, and by the way, they work together. If you don't want to play them together, well, you won't be able to do anything. So we never know, and I'm actually going to make an entirely separate video on my prediction on what the new cards will be or could be. So I'm actually going to cover pretty much all the possibilities, and yeah, definitely make sure you actually stay tuned for that. Anyways, back on the reveals subject, yes. Again, I could actually expect mid-March to reveal like probably 3 new cards, because that's exactly what the Ice Bearer structure deck did, and since the Cyber Style structure deck is kind of like in the same batch as the Ice Bearer structure deck, since both of them actually were the 2 victors of a poll that was actually decided by the players, exactly just like Shaddoll and Charmers, which means that Cyber Dragon might actually start following the exact same pattern. And as you actually were able to tell, the Shaddoll structure deck was extremely competitive, and I actually introduced a new tier 1 strategy into the game. That strategy was actually pretty much used to actually, I want to say, win a YCS, even though it was a 3v3, so it included other decks. And the Charmer structure deck wasn't good, the Ice Bearer structure deck wasn't good. So that leaves us with Cyber Dragon, or Cyber Dark, whatever, Cyber Style, which would be the 4th. So if Konami makes it bad, it's gonna be 1 good deck out of 4, and it's not really gonna look good on them. So I think personally Cyber Dragon, or I mean Cyber Style structure deck, is going to be a good deck, so it actually balances, you know, the meta and the non-meta, and actually making sure they're delivering like the fan service to the player base, because otherwise people are just always gonna complain, oh yeah, but we want more Cyber Dragon support, and Konami's like, bro, I keep giving you Cyber Dragon support, and then the player base is gonna be like, yeah, but we need like actual good support. Ah, yeah, touche. But no, I actually think also the reveals will actually start with the boss monster itself, Cyber Dark and Dragon, and of course, as you can tell with the title of the card, it actually already looks like a combination of Cyber Dark Dragon and Cyber End Dragon, meaning that, again, like a possible outcome might be for them to actually combine both decks. But the reason why I don't want to draw in any conclusions right now is because we don't know any of the other cards. So maybe if we actually get other cards in the reveal where they're actually going to talk about the boss monster, it's actually going to matter a lot. So we're actually going to know, you know, the fusion materials. If it's a fusion, for all we know, maybe it's going to be a Link monster. I don't think so. It's going to be really weird. And Cyber Dragon and Cyber Dark, not really the kind of decks to actually play rituals or synchro. Xyz actually could be a thing, but we never know. Maybe new fusion, new synchro monsters, maybe a new Chimera Tech monster. I would personally love this so much. And again, in my prediction video, I'm actually going to be talking about like a new Chimera Tech design, maybe something that is completely unique. Fortress was the first one with all machines, and then Mega Fleet was like the extra monster zone, so that was really unique when it actually got initially released. But what about a new Chimera Tech monsters that maybe allowed you to use your opponent's spells or traps or any card in your opponent's column? That could be interesting. Not bad, not bad. Anyways, there is also another thing that I want to touch on in this video, and continuing on the patterns that I was actually talking about, Konami has a tendency to sometimes revamp old decks by not encouraging people to play the old cards, but by releasing a whole new batch of cards that would pretty much replace the need and the usage for the old cards. Let me explain myself. So for the Monarch structure deck, the that was actually, by the way, pretty much one of the best structure decks out of all time, and you could actually argue that it is the best structure deck because it was the only structure deck in which even if you were broke, even if you had nothing, if you just bought 3 structure decks and a pack of sleeve, I swear to God, you could top a regional. You can literally ask anyone and their mother, and they will tell you, yes, indeed, people actually have done that. But anyways, so in the structure deck, what was really unique is that the main focus was actually to summon, you know, the new boss monsters of Monarchs, Erebus and Aether. And the really cool thing about this is that you were no longer forced to play the other Monarchs if you wanted your spells and traps and your other good engine cards to function. So what this also means for Cyber Dark, you know, the Cyber Dark portion of the structure deck is that maybe we're gonna get brand new version of Cyber Dark Horn, Hedge, and Keel, and we won't have to play these garbage monsters anymore. Maybe we're gonna get like new counterparts with actual competitive effects and like well adapted to the format where, you know, maybe your opponent can't, I don't know, target them or destroy them inherently without the need of Cyber Dark Inferno. And since Cyber Dark Inferno won't be needed, maybe we could see like a hybrid field spell, like when this card is activated, search your deck for any Cyber monster or any Cyber Dark monster. So actually, as a matter of fact, this could be a Cyber monster that is a machine. So it would kind of eliminate like Cyber Angel Benten, because if it just says Cyber monster, then yeah, maybe other decks can actually start using it, and we're actually gonna have a problem. Drytron already used Cyber Emergency, and I don't appreciate that. Leave Emergency alone, but yeah. Also, speaking of the boss monster, I know I wasn't talking about the boss monster before actually, so I don't know why I just said that, but I don't think it's gonna be like impossible to summon, because if it requires like 5 Cyber Darks and like 5 Cyber Dragon monsters, forget it. It's just gonna be dead content, exactly like A to Z Dragon Buster Cannon. That card is garbage, nobody can play it. ABC Dragon Buster is literally just more practical, it's better, it's more competitive, and it's actually like the pre-evolution, so why would you kind of go for a downgrade and just go like significantly more steps into something that isn't even better? So Cyber Darkness, or no, Cyber Dark and Dragon, maybe it might require only 2 materials, and the reason why that would be impactful is, well, first of all, I do believe that the card will be a dark monster, so it could be summoned with Overload Fusion, and what that would mean is that you can use the materials from the graveyard. Now, if you're actually following me, it's easy to get the materials for into the graveyard when you're trying to summon a monster like that, because if it says, like, for example, you need specifically Cyber Dragon Infinity and Cyber Darkness Dragon, you can pretty much cheat the requirement just for, like, going Nadir Servant and Dragma Punishment. And then that's it, that's all. Congratulations. You already have the 2 boss monsters in the graveyard. Next turn, Overload Fusion. Well, next turn, you get the point. Next turn, when you have the ability to fusion summon from the extra deck, Dragma Punishment doesn't count anymore. Yeah, you can actually summon this monster pretty easily with Overload. Maybe it's gonna be way better than Cyber Darkness Dragon, so it'll have a negation effect, a piercing damage effect. That could be nice because that's what Cyber and Dragon has, but I mean, piercing in 2021, not that great anymore. Double piercing, how about triple piercing? Ooh. Attack a 0 defense monster. Oh, I guess that's game already. Congrats. Yeah, I mean, let's go to game 2. Oh, I mean, I'm probably gonna beat you in game 2 anymore. Anyways, but yeah, no, that could actually be quite interesting. Anyways, in conclusion, that's all I really had to say for this Cyber style, I guess, review, or not even because we have absolutely no information yet, but analysis or extrapolation off of data that we, I guess, have off of the previous structure deck. So yeah, I mean, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it motivates me a lot to keep making videos like these. That's pretty much it. Thank you again for watching for the 10th billion time, and I will see you very soon. Peace.